I think I think it's just about accepting that, you know what, you could take a rest day, and once you get that in your mind, it's not considered slacking, it's considered refreshing the mind,
I
rewording.
tell you, I tell you, I took a rest day a month and a half ago, and I'm still on those rest days. But I will be back. I will be back. You know, it's like everyone's famous last words, like I'm coming back. But I am. I'm gonna come back, Dwight.
Yeah, we're gonna bounce back, but I think we never come back the same way. All right, everybody. So let me not forget the introduction. Thank you again. Welcome everybody to another episode of Mornings with Movers. I'm slacking today. My name is Dwyght Mack with Max Mover Training, and we got Ryan Marsh, a former mover and a strategic partner, and he's not slacking, but I am. So, hey, Ryan, how are you?
What's going on, Blacky Mac?
Oh
No, man,
man,
it's and we were talking about this before. It's good to shut it down for a day or two. You need that, man, especially mentally, physically. You gotta shut it down. Here and there. You know, it's one thing to go, well, I can't say that phrase on here, but um, you know what, to the wall, like, you can only do that for so long before the body's like, hey, I need to I need to relax a little bit.
mm-hmm.
And actually that
Yeah.
happened to me quite a few weeks ago. It was actually when I was on your show, and it was 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you noticed, I was probably acting a little weird and quiet and kind of like I wasn't saying much at all, which is not like me. I was going through some health pieces, and I actually went to the emergency room that next morning. I just couldn't take it anymore, and I was there for what, 4 days, I want to say,
Oh
and
wow.
every test possible, from brain scans to echoes to you name it. They did everything, man. I've never been in a hospital like that before, and ended up coming back to basically the amount of my stress level, which obviously it's hard to measure that. Um, but it was wreaking havoc on the body. So they literally told me to start shutting it down a little bit, start telling people no. It's okay to say no. And when I showed them my schedule, um, which I'm like, no, I'm like, I'll show you. I didn't want to show them a crazy day.
Hey everybody, my name is Dwyght Mack with Max Moving Training. So we're gonna be doing a move and a pack today. But before we go in, there's just 10 basic rules that we just need to know before participating with this service. So number one, understand moving is a very, very stressful thing. The customer, they're uplifting their life from one location to another. They're having to call all these vendors and get all these suppliers in place so that basically they can make that transition. So their stress level is at the highest right now. We need to be a service provider that comes in and basically keep that stress level mitigated or very low. Come in as professionals and do our job the way we know how to do our job so that this customer is less stress during that move process. Number two, be on time. First impression is everything. You guys showing up outside of the window rubs the customer the wrong way. It messes up the rest of the move process. Even if you guys do the best job y'all can do, because one thing was off, this customer's mood is just off. Go up and beyond, be there before the time, as long as they're okay with it.
So I just showed them like an average day, and the doctor was like, yo, well, he didn't say yo, but was like, whoa, this is your day? And I'm like, yeah, this is a Wednesday. But I didn't show him my other calendar, which has my other piece on it. And he was like, dude, you can't do this. He goes, you get to the age where you need to slow it down just a touch. I wasn't drinking enough water. Now I'm like, here we go all day. And I wasn't eat right. And it was making my body do some real weird things. Enough for
Yeah.
me to have to check into the ER. And I don't like hospitals, man, at all. It's the first time I ever had an IV, or multiples, I should say.
No, and I want to get to that point where I can quiet it down, but then I just feel like in order for me to quiet down, it's like, can you stay committed to one or two things versus five or six things? And but life is so short, then it just circles around to, don't you want to do this? Don't you want to do this? Don't you just want to have a touch of this? And it's like, you can't do everything, but you damn sure want to try at least.
No, I just started just kind of reprioritizing my day. What are the things I absolutely must get done versus the things that I potentially want to get done? So I'm kind of dissecting each day, every day, because it's only been a week and a half since I've been out, sort of say, right? Supposed to take it easy for like, I think he said like 3 to 4 weeks, but I took it easy for the week I got back, and that was about it. But just reprioritizing, and honestly, the hard part is telling friends no. When it's like, hey, can I get some help with this? I'm always been like, yeah, yeah. Or I'm offering to help with that. Now it's like, nope. You have to catch me down the road here. But what's going on in the moving world?
What is
There's
going
some exciting things were semi-announced yesterday and the day before. So
on?
I
You
think
got to tell
things
me
gonna start.
that.
Oh, look, Amazon announcing a 5-day work week, push back to office, um, which is going to be huge. Because if Amazon's going to do that, I'm assuming other companies are somewhat going to follow, even with a hybrid type piece. You had the feds lower the rate a little bit, um, starting to drive people to buy more houses. People are probably going to end up listing more housing. So that's going to be huge. I mean, those are two pretty big pieces. Now we'll see what that trickle down looks like, but that has a potential of making this off peak season be kind of like a peak season that really wasn't there this year.
No, that would definitely be nice. Because like I said, people are still selling their trucks from what I'm seeing. That they're just still slow. So hopefully it kicks in sooner than later. Um, don't know, like the world of lead providers. They used to be a thing where they were like, oh, you're going to, but because it became so super expensive now, you got
Your
to
mic's a
revamp.
little your mic's coming in scratchy. Your mic's slacking.
Dang, everything. Hold on.
There it is. I can hear you now.
Can you hear me better now? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me see.
Yeah, it was just like cutting out. So like you got a short and a cord or something.
Let's see. How about now?
Like, I hear you.
Okay. So, yeah, I sound like one of those telephone commercials. Can you hear me now? Uh,
It's
no.
like
So,
an AT&T.
hey, y'all, we got the iPhone 16. So back to, but no, what I was gonna say. So, yeah, these lead providers just getting super expensive. So hopefully, that changes, and goes down. Hopefully, so that people can, get back to buying leads because it's like you just got to revamp the whole marketing system. Like,
Yes.
oh, well,
That's the one area in the moving world that I don't have a lot of experience with is our company. We never bought leads. We toyed with it very quickly. And then obviously having friends in the moving space in our area, it came to light really quickly when we were supposed to have exclusive leads that these leads were also going to everybody else as well. And the quality of the leads weren't that great. I am not going to name obviously the company or companies that we tried to work with, but we never bought leads ever. But we self-generated a ton. We were out in the community a ton at the Chamber of Commerce, business after business events. We're a couple of different roundtable and business groups, and also we did a lot of commercial work too, right? So it's hard to buy the commercial leads, sort of say. But once you get in on that commercial side of the house, man, it's constant work, constant
yeah,
work. So you're not, there's no price battles, no price wars. It's you do a good job for these accounts. I mean, you're good. You're in there. So
I would just say be careful, um, with what lead you buy because there was one lead provider who would say, oh, we can guarantee you 300 leads a month, and you pay us $500, and and that wasn't that bad. It's 300 leads, $500. So at least $100 and some change per lead. Um,
but what's the quality of those leads?
Probably horrible because anybody can guarantee you, you can't guarantee anybody's moving. You so they're like, oh yeah, we can give you 300 to 500 leads. Well, how many people are in this area are giving 300 to 500 leads too? I know you usually share it with X amount of people, but it's like, how do you guarantee 300, 500?
Yeah, are they exclusive? Are they legit? I guess. What do you, man? That'd
So,
be amazing. Give
so
yeah. If
yeah,
if they had the ability for $500, give 300 leads, and even say a third of those leads were average, like that's still 100 moves.
yeah.
100
So
serious opportunities. I mean, that would be big for $500, but highly doubt that you're getting 100 opportunities. You might get maybe 10, I would say, maybe. But
right.
hey, all it takes is one or two of those things for it to absolutely pay off too, right? But you just don't know. It's just that
Yeah.
unpredictability piece, and that's
Yeah.
why commercial work for us, it was predictable.
Number three, make sure your team is in uniform, they're groomed, their hygiene is checked, because that's the worst thing you could do, especially going in a house. Customer could smell your guy from a mile away, and now, again, their mood is just thrown off. So make sure that you guys are in uniform, you're tight, you have uniform shirts, that it doesn't look like, you have a laborer that's, hired from off the street. Presentation is everything that goes towards your first impression. Number four, introduce both you and your partner when greeting the customer. Don't just go to the door by yourself, while your driver is unloading the truck, and introduce yourself. Actually have both of you there. Introduce yourself first, then introduce your partner second, and then, allow them to welcome you into their home.
You knew when you knew when it was getting bid out, and you knew these guys were all on routines and rotations at universities and colleges. Every year they're flipping multiple dorms. Every 5 to 7 years they're flipping out another dorm room's furniture. So
Mhm.
those are all big projects. Hotels are getting refurbed every 7 to 10 years. If you're in an area with a hotel, they do one per year. That's 10 years worth of work.
Yeah, it was definitely draining. I'll give you that. It was definitely draining because you call in so many leads that you're getting, and some months you didn't even get 300 leads, but you got charged $500. So that was a red flag right there. But calling all those leads, and if they're not good leads, and then you're thinking about, well, this is not my only lead provider. I'm dealing with other lead providers as well. Like it's taxing making cold calls or warm calls, and
Yeah,
you know.
I'm still a big fan of the old school postcard. I know it sounds crazy, but we had this funky. I told you a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna find it,
Mhm.
but that funky looking house, that shit works. It absolutely works. A little handwritten piece, man. I'm telling you, it works.
Oh
Commercial.
yeah. Well, on a side note, hey, USA Home Listens is now pushing out their handwritten notes and everything like that. So that should be a good add-on for a lot of people doing postcards.
Yeah, I know. We just had Matthew Young on here not too long ago, who kind of started this
Ah,
whole thing here. I
yeah,
know. Like, here
yeah,
we
it's a
go.
doggy dog world out there, to be
It's
honest.
back to war is what it looks like. So, man, oh man.
And it's hey, you know what? No good idea stays on the market by itself for too long without, some type of competition.
Yep. 100%. No, I love the idea. I love what they're doing over there, and yeah, we'll see who wins the war here. Unfortunately,
Yeah. So Ryan's being a little modest over there, trying to keep his peace.
no, hey, you know what? I like both, right? I like both. I like both people. We'll say I don't have experience with the one, because again, we didn't buy leads or anything like that, so it was never obviously always knew of the organization, but
Mhm.
we never leveraged them. Because quite frankly, we didn't need to, right? So it's not a dig at them. We didn't need them. But I know there's a lot of movers that do, right? So it's I was in a whole different situation when it came to that stuff. But
Yeah. Like computer about to die on me.
you are slacking today. Computer's about to die. Dude, 3 minutes late.
Uh-huh. Don't be mad at me, y'all. But no, I think today will be arrested. Get my mind right. And I definitely need a vacation. It's been way too long, but we're gonna plan something for next year.
But you just said the V word? What
Yeah.
what is that in the industry?
What? I was used to taking three a year.
No, I feel like my and this is gonna sound bad, but I feel like my career is a vacation. To be honest with you, like I have so much fun I love what I'm doing. I'm really, really passionate behind it, and I do get to travel outside of my area to all
Hmm.
these amazing events and just be around really, really awesome people. So is it like a vacation? No, because obviously it's a lot of work goes into the planning, the preparation, then obviously at the event, and then kind of the debrief afterwards. But dude, it's really cool. I will say. So in reality, actually, my wife was saying like when we go on vacation, I'm just like, man, I just had 5 trips like back to back to back. Like, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be home.
Right. So
So
yeah, it's definitely not. I wouldn't say it's a vacation per se, because like you said, it's work. But and it's a lot of work that goes into it. So even when you get there, you're like, oh, I'm not relaxing now that I finally made it to my destination. I'm talking to people. I'm, you know,
yeah.
talking
And
about.
again, there is downtime. Like even the downtime though, to me, the downtime at these conferences and conventions, like that's the time that really all the magic happens with the movers. But you figure, man, it was New Orleans, Fort Lauderdale, and then over to Hawaii, all like back to back to back. So I'm personally I'm beached out, palm treed out. And I
Yeah, the
got some
scenery got
coming
to
up.
be beautiful.
It was, man. Hawaii was really, really nice. I don't know if I'd ever go there again just because I don't do well with long, long flights.
Hmm.
10 plus hours in the air to me, I'm one that's got to move. And I don't think the flight attendants like me very much because I think it was like a 2 hour stretch. I just kept walking in circles around this plane. I stopped in every single,
What?
yeah, for 2 hours. I can't sit still, man. And I had somebody sit next to me that I'm gonna be nice. Um, probably should have paid for 2 seats, we'll say. And this person ordered every meal on the plane, which, hey, I'm sure they were hungry. We'll just leave it at that. But they would take 2 or 3 bites and they'd fall asleep and they'd end up on my shoulder. And then I'd have literally driblets of their Thai rice. And I'm just like, I couldn't. I kept having it's the first time ever on a flight that I literally had to take my elbow and blast this dude because
Ah!
he was not waking up. So I just literally that plane had 6 bathrooms on it. One, two, yeah, 2 in the back, 2 in the middle, no, and one in the front. I had 5, and I would basically I'd walk up, check myself in the bathroom. I'd stand there and stretch out for like 5 minutes. I'd walk out, walk all the way to the back of the plane, go in another bathroom, and just hang out. And then I walk all the way up to the front middle, boom. And then when they were doing their cart service, I go back in the back of the plane where they were prepping all the meals and stuff. I just hang out.
Yeah.
Like this dude is weird.
Nah, I think the longest flight I've taken that I can remember is Vegas, which was 6 hours.
That's not too. Yeah, I can do. Well, no, I should be get to Vegas and well, I'm going there to the Cosmo here next month. For the IAM, which should be really, really good. Over 2,000 folks are supposed to join. We got this really cool Nook pod that we're going to do some things in, but I think from Detroit there is less. I think it's less than 4 hours. I feel like
Okay.
I
Yeah.
could be wrong.
Yeah, I flew out of Albany and, like I said, it was 6 hours. Now, I did go to Hawaii. It didn't seem that long from Albany. I don't know if whereabouts you flew out from.
I went Syracuse, Detroit, which is just you blink your eyes and you're there. But Detroit to Honolulu was just over 10 hours. And then once I got there, I had like a 2 hour kind of wait, sort of say. And then we went from Honolulu down to Kona on the Big Island, but that was a gorgeous flight. It was only 20 minutes or 25 minutes. Like it was all over all the islands. Like it was really, really cool.
Yeah, I think we went to, I think I want to say Waikiki or something like that. But
Is there like a song about that? Who sang a song? Did he sing a song about Waikiki?
we don't need to talk about that man.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't even.
We ain't gonna talk about the
I wasn't
bottles
trying
of
to go.
baby oil.
I was. I wasn't trying to go in that direction, but I did like music. But yeah, it's a whole different bird there. Yeah, so we'll just delete that out of this one here.
Yeah, no Diddy moments, none of that.
No freak offs.
But nah, it's crazy. That whole article was crazy. Another guy going down. Another big artist going down, which is crazy. But
It's almost like that. More money, more problems. I mean,
that is a thing.
yeah.
Um,
I'm not even going to comment on any of. I don't know enough to say anything. I don't want to say. I don't want to get caught up in this. Not that it meant like, not that it matters, but just listen to the, I don't know if it was the attorney general kind of read the list of charges and hearing him sit there and be like, he said freak off, like, in a suit and tie, and he was being all serious, like, inviting him for a freak off. I'm like, this guy, it just made me laugh. It's not funny, right? Obviously not funny at all, but just listen to some guy in a suit and a tie talk about freak offs had me just laughing.
It's crazy. You would think, in my opinion, you would think he would learn from the R. Kelly situation.
The first 15 times he did certain things you think you learn, but hey, when you're surrounded by, a team that large, and you've got that much money and that much power and the ability to basically curb everything throughout your entire life, like I can't imagine what that feeling is. Like there's days I feel invisible or invincible. I don't know what the word is, but like that's completely different than that side of the world, man. Like the ability to jump on a jet and go wherever you want at any time, or the ability to snap your finger and say, I want this house here, this here, I want this, or I want that. Like I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, and I know it don't come easy. It is a talent, a skill for these artists to get with it. But even then, they're paying so many people, and that's what we don't see. It's how much
Yeah.
money they're dishing out to have that team around them. But like, look at Kevin Hart and his documentary, Hart Studios, and showed his whole team, their roles and stuff like that, and it was just like, wow, like the stuff you don't see,
Yeah. No doubt.
you
Have no
know.
doubt. Man, I don't know how we get on this kind of, because you said Waikiki. It's got us all way off track here.
Well, hey, talking about, your path, it's a good subject, making sure you know why you're doing what you're doing. Like you could be a mover all your life if you so choose to. But at the end of the day, you're gonna get burnt out. What's the alternative avenue to keeping you fresh? In most cases, movers or owners don't have a 401k unless you have it at a bank and you're like, oh well, I'm gonna just put into that and have a retirement when I'm ready to retire. But and from what we've seen, a lot of people retire from doing what they're doing and they're burnt out and they sell a company and they hope that that's going to help them lay over for a while. But then they end up having to find themselves doing something else for some money.
I think that's a very fair point. I think a lot of movers do think, hey, my retirement piece is going to be selling my business. Um, but again, back to knowing the numbers and things like that. Like, I talk to a lot of movers. Oh, my business is worth X. I'm just like, phew. Your business to me is worth basically your phone number and potentially your website. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
20 to 40 grand is what I pay for your business. The trucks, no. Your team, no. Your buildings, no. To me, it's your phone number and your website. Now, this is just a few of them, right? Now, there's a lot of moving companies that, sure, if I had the cash, I'd love to buy because they're amazing. But yeah, most moving companies, their worth is basically their phone number at that
Yeah,
point.
and my thought
That's the
was
tough pill to swallow.
when I thought that it was such a fragmented industry, and people start, going to moving industry any day, every day. It's just going through that rigorous process of becoming legit. But anybody can start a moving company. It was like, why are people buying a moving company? I've always thought that, like, I can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, your mic's breaking up again. Your mic's
Jeez.
staggering.
Let me see. Can you hear me better?
Yep.
All right. So yeah, I was saying I'm not about to pay, $100,000 for a company when I could just start one for $500 and build it up.
Yeah. Like I said, man, phone number and website. I
So, but
guess we can chalk this whole segment up is to, surround yourself with a good team, good quality people.
mhm. Yeah, that's all you could do because everything else is intangible assets. Not well, yeah, I think it's intangible assets considered like your people and everything like that. So they don't have a necessarily value. You got to find a value in that. And
Yeah,
like
to
you
me,
said,
the people are your greatest asset, right? I mean, that's if you don't have great people, what do you have? You can have all the trucks in the world, you can have all the software in the world, you can have the most beautiful facilities in the 30,000, 40,000 square foot warehouse, but if you don't have good people and you don't have a good culture, what are you at that point?
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people have the culture. I think the bigger companies, they found it, they've gotten it, but like the smaller companies that just kind of get going, they're, from my experience, they're just someone, in my opinion, I probably wouldn't want to work for because they're just jerks. I don't know no other way to say it.
It's
I've
that
seen.
old school way of running, 30, 40, 50 years ago, you could rule with that iron fist and was a
Mhm.
different type of employee. You could say, get this done and bang your fist on the desk and your people would get that done. You led, like I said, led with that iron fist. Now it's like you got to lead from behind, almost like a shepherd, right? You got to, corral your sheep. And I don't want to use sheep's a bad word, but like lead from behind, give your people all the tools that they need and let them go out in the wild and thrive. Just be a good guide at that point. Um, but it's a whole new age of employees. Like it's not just showing up to work now. I feel like you almost got to incentivize that. Showing up to work on time in
Mhm.
uniform, to me, you got to incentivize that. And everyone thinks I'm crazy, like with the sub shop, like the way we have performance based pay. Everyone's like, oh, it's never going to work. You're going to this, what have you. I've got a list of people that want to work for us because the culture is so healthy, because it's so fun, and everything's clean, neat, and straight. Right? I mean, you
You know,
incentivize everything.
the crazy part is I thought so many times about working for yourself. Not working as a business owner, but more or less working for yourself, where you're like, hey, only person I depend on is me to get up at the end of the day. And if I can depend on me, if unless I slack off for the day and say, hey, I don't feel like getting up today, then that's my slacking issue. But I don't have to worry about, oh, I'm motivated today, but my worker is slacking. We're not gonna be able to get nothing done today.
Yeah,
And
but that's
then,
where burnout happens.
uh-huh.
So my whole thing is, there's going to be days that I'm just not feeling great. I don't want to get out of bed or what have you, and that's where your team sees that, senses that, and you're transparent with that and letting them know, hey guys, I'm whooped. Help a brother out here. And to see your team step up and handle your stuff while you're out of pocket is it, and vice versa. If one of your teammates is down, you got to be able to step in and backfill them quickly. Like if you can have that kind of yin and yang, man, that's where the magic's at. If your team
Yeah.
steps up for you every day and you're stepping up for your team every day, I mean that's where you're making magic. And hopefully having some fun doing so.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is the plus. You got to deal with the good and the bad of it. Waking up every day for me was a bit of anxiety when I ran the company at times, where it's just like, who's going to call out today? Who's not going to be there today? I don't want to incentivize them to be there. They know they need to be there.
You'd think, but it's
Um,
changing mentality with the new age worker. Unfortunately, I mean I remember living that life every day of like, man, okay, who's calling out? Who's just going to no call, no show? Like you can almost pick based on the
mhm.
day which one of those team members. So it got to the point we're almost like planning and preparing for call outs every day, and I'm just like, man, there's got to be a better way because running at max capacity, having one driver not show, one or two laborers not show, it's going to have a major impact because our schedule's booked for the next 60 days. Like it's going to push some things back and it's going to be disastrous. So we had to switch gears, and culture was the first thing that we focused on because our culture was broken, man. We were measuring successful days on how many times the word starts with an M and ends with an F was dropped. How many door slams in a day? Like that's how we were measuring success at once upon a time.
Mm.
Based on how many door slams, how many. And when I first started, I didn't know half these guys' names because everyone was called a mother effer. So it was like, holy cow.
No, it's crazy.
It took a couple
And,
years though.
and you make a valid point. It's the new age workers. Like, even though there's been times where I thought about, maybe I might get back into the industry as far as a mover's perspective goes. And then I was like, you know what? Absolutely not. The world has changed. It's changing as well. And people are finding it hard to believe that, oh, why there nobody want to work? Why nobody want to work or whatever the case is? Because the world is changing. It's changing in a way where people can be more self-dependent and go out there and get money, whether it's or whether it's Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, you name it. There are so many different companies out there that's saying, hey, you don't need your necessarily your social security or your birth certificate, you need to wait to payroll day to get paid. Go out and get it. There's no reason for it. You know, a convict coming out of jail, you know, dream job was to get a job because they're going on parole. And you know, their employer's like their parolee's like, if you don't get a job in this amount of time, we'll put you back in. Well, think how simple it is now. Maybe not. I don't know from that perspective. If that's considered, you know, that gig is considered more of a job or not.
I said there's a there's a lot of, and I keep hearing about the lack of jobs, this, that, and it's like, to me, that's garbage. There are so many opportunities out there. And I think that's kind of one of the struggle pieces with this industry is there's so many jobs. You figure what your laborers are making per week and the amount of effort and struggle that these, just, you know, the moving industry, right? Just
Mhm.
moving 8,000 pound local in a day, that is a lot of work for X amount of pay. These guys can go work for Instacart and go pick up 3, 4 orders of groceries that day and make more money. They can zip around and rip around and do DoorDash deliveries, or they can be an Uber driver and make all that stuff happen for the same amount of money that they would be humping furniture 5, 6 days a week. So you
Yeah,
gotta incentivize. You gotta make your in this industry attractive again.
is a double-edged sword though. You know, how much could you afford to pay somebody to make it attractive just to and just to turn around and realize that you can't make that from your customer?
And that's where, I mean, I'll tell you, Allison Endicott yesterday at our revenue summit, that's where she was dropping some golden nuggets. It's like you can't afford to pay somebody 35, $40 an hour, right? However, paying somebody 20 bucks an hour, but they can make up to $35 an hour based on incentives, this, bonuses, you know, and quarterly. And she had a really cool system of how they do things over at Works Moving and Storage. I think that's kind of the transparency in the hiring process and about that wage is, yes, we know you want 35 bucks an hour. Who doesn't? But you're going to make 20 with the ability to basically make as much as you want. But you got to check
Mhm.
these boxes. You got to show up on time. You got to be in uniform. You got to capture the 5-star reviews. You got to take care of the customer. You got to do your job if you want to
Yeah.
make type of piece. And they do a hell of a job with that. So kudos to her and her team for drumming up those ideas. They've got raffle tickets that they do. They have drawings, and they have a scorecard, which, you know, I think is lacking. And we talked about this a while back, you know, 5, 6 shows ago of, you know, you look at the moving industry as kind of like a baseball game, right? If you're playing another team, aka winning or playing against the customer, how do you know who's winning if you're not keeping score? If you're not
Mhm.
tracking how many pitches is your pitcher throwing? Is your leadoff guy 0 for 4? Is your guy in the 4 slot, your cleanup guy, is he hitting 3 for 4 that day? What's his average? What's he doing? And if you don't know this stuff, you could be having the wrong teammates in the wrong spaces in that particular lineup, sort of say. So again, going back to being a great team manager, sort of say, knowing your people, nobody's anonymous. You know, Bo really touched on that in the revenue summit as well. You can't have anonymous people in your company. You got to know what triggers them, their first, middle, last name, their kids, their wives, their issues, their problems. You got to know that stuff. You got to know what, you got to know how to light a fire under them. And he did
Yeah.
that, really, really well. So he knew every player on that team, and he knew when to insert a particular player based on a particular game time situation. You know, he knew he could, you know, run it up the middle on certain plays, aka football talk. But he knew he could throw in Dwyght if you know, it's 4th and 1. We got to get that critical first down. You know, we're down by 7. He knew he could call on Dwyght, and Dwight's gonna get that first down. Now, I might have caught 3 touchdown passes that day, and I might be leading the scoring there, but he's not going to put Ryan in to run that 1 yard play because that's not me. I'm not a runner. You know, I don't have the strength to do that, but I can get by you, outskirt, and catch that pass over the shoulder and get that touchdown when it's needed. So, kind of crazy analogies there, but that's how you almost have to look at this.
I was like, shoot, are we playing football here or what is Ryan talking about? But no, no, you make sense. I just feel like there's a point where a person feels like they still have to walk on eggshells around people now, and I feel like this is where the industry may be leading to because of the high turnover rate. You know, there's the labor list. There's so much going on out there where people could be making so much more money, and you're like, well, hey, I'm going to leave with an iron fist, and and some people are paying bi-weekly, which is super weird. But then think about that. Oh, well, why would movers want to work for you if you're getting paid bi-weekly? You know, especially in this day and age. And then if you're paying weekly and you're not paying at least $20 to $22 an hour for a mover, you know, what are you doing? Because at the end of the day, they're gonna feel like, oh well, I'm being told this, the culture is not really nice. I gotta wait a whole week. I'm not getting my tips right away. You know, I gotta wait for my payroll to get my tips as well. You know, I got a family to feed. You know, and the only thing you're trying to do is like, well, guys, we'll get you breakfast, or we'll bring you a Gatorade. You know, and these guys are like, no, I'd rather the money now. So it's
Yeah.
definitely a different age.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to chalk a lot of that up to the call outs, the turnover, and all that. It's a cultural piece. The guys don't care. If they cared, they wouldn't be calling out. If they got treated well, they got respected well. If they weren't anonymous, you got to, we literally, man, when I say we had call outs almost every day, we did for years. And we just couldn't figure it out, right? Because we didn't think outside the box. You know, fast forward to my last 5, 6 years, if we had a call out in the summer, like it was very rare, very rare. Guys didn't want to call out. They were placed on particular jobs that we knew that they would be successful on. You know, we didn't put a C minus player on an A plus job, right? And again, back to that sports analogy, we weren't putting Ryan in to run the power I up the middle to get that first down. No, we were putting in Dwyght. Like, so again, back to knowing your team and knowing their abilities is critical.
Yeah, no, that and like I said, that makes sense. Even though Ryan's thinking about his NFL team right now, but
Fantasy, hey, I'm 2-0 in fantasy right now. I'm crushing it. So,
okay,
but
but
again, you got back to knowing your people. I know my team. I made a couple smart decisions the last 2 weeks of benching certain players and popping in other players. And thank goodness I did, because the one got 28 points, and the guy benched got like 9. And I switched my defenses around week 1. Cowboys came through with a nice piece. I took the Cowboys out for defense and got a different defense this particular week. Thank goodness, because the Cowboys, I think, were -1 on defense. I don't
yeah,
know how we lost to New Orleans. Like, come on. But again, just again, knowing your team, knowing who you're playing against. So it can be fantasy football, or it can be the moving industry, right? Back to knowing your freaking people.
you
Now
better
they
me.
still
I don't
go
ever
out and
have time
perform,
to
right?
watch the NFL during regular seasons. You know what? If my Pats make it to the playoffs, I'll see you there. You know, but you're not
Who's your
going
team?
the Patriots.
Okay.
So you know, they ain't never been right since Brady, but
And
you
they
know.
probably will be for a long time.
You know, that's crazy because Brady came in at 97, and it's like it just ain't the Patriots no more. Like it just feels like
No, I just feel like that whole dynasty, just obviously dynasty's gone. You know, the Belichick Brady era is over. Wish them both. I'm talking like I know these guys. Wish them both the best, right? Shout out to Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Like,
hey, Brady might be back now that Tua's out.
I don't think he can now, being a part owner of the Raiders.
I think it's been talks.
Uh, I just hope he stays retired. I don't want to see the guy come back, take a shot, get crushed. Like, I
It's
wish
the
honestly
Brady effect. He won't get crushed. He'll be
yeah,
there
he
for.
will. He won't get crushed. But no, I did. I've always been a Brady fan. I've always respected the Patriots. Obviously, I'm a Cowboys fan at heart. But I like individual players. And when I will say, when Brady did go to Tampa Bay, I was a huge Tampa Bay fan that year, just for the fact of I wanted to see Brady be successful and see, hey, was it a Brady piece? Was it a Belichick piece? Was it a combination of both? Which obviously during those years, it's kind of coming to light now where, yeah, it started off as a combination of both. And I feel like Brady just kind of outshined Belichick as the years went on. But for him to go in there to Tampa Bay, win that Super Bowl, me personally, I wish he would have retired right then and there, but who doesn't want to try to run it back, right? So
Mhm.
run it
Yeah,
back. It didn't
he had a
happen.
team. Mike Evans and
Chris
the
Godwin,
I forget the running back, but the running back was a beast as well. Um,
was it White? No,
oh no.
I can't think of his name now.
Yeah, I can't think of his name either, but he was a beast in the NFL for several years.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, I can't think of his name. Not Peterson. I can't think of his name.
yeah, but
See,
hey,
nobody should be anonymous, right?
exactly. That's when Brady starts shining over all these people. But they all pretty much wanted to come and play for him. Even the D lineman, dang, I can't even think of his name, but it was a strong D tackle, who was in the league for a while, and he was making a huge impact. I think he was on the Dolphins at one point as well. But nevertheless, again, all these famous players that were older players, like, oh, I'll cut my salary just to play for this guy.
And why can't movers own, so AKA the Tom Brady's of moving companies, do that same thing? Sacrifice a little bit of your pay, your profits, invest it back in your team. Surround yourself with a great team. Take care of your team. Educate, bring awareness to your team, and then go out and execute as a team. Because the money's going to come at the end, right? Imagine,
I'm
imagine
thinking
what,
about that analogy, and I'm like,
this is what I was trying to bring it
and
back to
it's
you
still
earlier, and you're like,
different.
what's he talking about football about? But I mean, you take Brady's piece, right? And break that down into smaller chunks in the moving world. Like, imagine what would have happened to Brady if he would have always held out for the highest contract, which he absolutely deserved. He wouldn't have surrounded himself with teams that he's been on. But
No,
also look at, he also played in a lot of teams, not a lot of teams, played a lot of seasons where who were the people he was playing with? I mean, you had little Edelman, you had I mean, he obviously had Moss and what have you, and some other, big shot players, but he really wasn't surrounded for his core years. He wasn't surrounded with all this crazy badass talent.
yeah, no, one person that didn't even last long, which kind of made me mad, was that we I felt like we dreamt of, was Brendan Cooks, who was a phenomenal receiver in my opinion, even though he was really fast. And that was really about it, just a major deep threat. But was only on the team for like a year. But that's usually the Patriots time frame. Even a good player more than a years. Yeah.
Yep. No, so hey, we're dropping some nuggets here, little football analogies, and be the Tom Brady's, right? Work hard, study your competition, learn how to execute, learn how to lead, and you know, break up some of that money a little bit. Start supporting the team, build that critical team around you, because ultimately you're going to win that championship at the end of the year. And hey, that's where the big bonuses come for that owner, for that what have you.
Yeah, and we were on the last week we were on the marketing seminar. We talked about diversification. Now, just to make that clear a little bit, you don't want to be stretched too thin in too many different areas. Meaning that, hey, oh, I got cleaning services, I got junk removal services, I got moving, and I got all of these other different departments, but you're not good or making a lot of money in either of those areas. Whereas your core services were moving. So, kind of like dig deep, make sure that you optimize your moving department. Hey, if you're going to focus on local moves, make sure you're getting about at least 3 to 4, maybe 500 moving jobs a year before you say, oh, well, we're going to add junk removal, we're going to add this. Because if you're only getting 200 moving jobs a year, not to say that they can't be profitable, they could definitely be profitable, but
Not
200,
enough.
200 divide 200 into 365 days. How profitable are you being?
You're not growing and scaling at that rate. But no, I think that diversification, I think, all things moving, that's where the commercial aspect comes in. And obviously within that commercial side, there's multiple lanes within commercial. There's final mile, there's milk runs, there's OS&E, FF&E. There's the milk run piece. I don't know if I already mentioned that one there, but in all of these things, all have their time of the year to shine, right? So we know household is the 120 days of summer, historically peak season, AKA sort of say. So household is there. But prior to household, what are you bidding on? What should you be bidding on? You should be bidding on that large commercial work because that's when those bids come out. And then all the product comes in during peak season. So while you're executing your other moves, keeping that wheel going, now you have an influx of storage coming in. And then when peak season ends, is typically when all that delivery out and install happens with those big projects. Same thing with colleges and universities. If you're trying to attack that business and market that business while the kids are out of school or on breaks, it's too late. You're bidding on those things the first part of the year when those kids are in school so they can plan and prepare for, hey, when these kids leave for a 2-week break, we can execute this or execute that. And then when they leave for their summer break, there's more work there as well. So the ability to be predictable, I think, is it can happen in this industry. I know plenty of movers that do. They're predicting like, hey, we're gonna do X amount of commercial during this time. So Q1 is this, Q2 is household. So really, when it comes to planning, how are you planning your Q1, your Q3, and your Q4? Because Q2 is basically, I want to say, all planned out for you. It's going to be household work. You know it's going to be there. So to me, the planning aspect is Q1, 3, and 4. And if you can go ahead and lock those things in long in advance, you don't have peak and non-peak ebbs and flows. You just have kind of a steady uptick worth of work.
Yeah, no, and that's always been the challenge in my opinion, is finding those outside the season type of work. We did a lot of final mile delivery. But when you're in an area where it snows heavy, and it gets down to like -3 degrees out, you know, you gotta think, well, am I calling it today? Are we really doing a move today? But we had some customers and now I was in Florida, and I think it got down to like 3 degrees or whatever the case is, and the trucks wouldn't start. Now, obviously, I was supposed to be one of those people that plugged in the heater.
So I was going to ask, are the trucks plugged in every night? Right. So this is, are you open, ready to close, and close, ready to open? So are the trucks prepared? Do you make sure you got the DEF in there? Are they fueled up? Are they ready to go? If we know you got a little ice storm or something coming like that, are you protecting windshields? What are we doing? So I think that's that being proactive rather than reactive, which we obviously, as we know, this industry is really reactive most of the times. But if you know that there's a snowstorm coming middle of next week, are you waiting for that snowstorm to hit before you make your decisions? Or are you already basically getting with operations, calling customers saying, hey, we're supposed to get a foot of snow. We do this all the time. We're supposed to get a foot of snow this week. You know how the weather people are. It's either hit or miss. We're either getting a foot, 10 feet, or we're getting nothing. Like, you just don't know. However, if we do get X amount of snow, this is what we're going to have to do. But you can't reach out the day before or the day of, because that customer is going to be pissed because they still have to move. They've got to stay on schedule. So the more you can be proactive with this stuff, the better. And then also the same thing, like, are you sending out during winter times with your quotes? Like, what does the winter weathered hazard piece look like? Do the customer know that they got to have their driveways cleared, their steps cleared, the main walkways cleared? How many times, Dwyght, has your moving company showed up to a customer's house? There's 4 or 5 inches of snow on the ground and nobody did anything. And now the customer wants you to take your shoes off, go in the house.
Yeah, right.
Like, no. So again, just that explanation, going that one step further. And, we had the summer plan, we had the winter plan, and it worked really, really well. Many times, obviously in the Northeast, we've had to cancel because we got 1.5 feet of snow. You don't want your movers out there. It's just not safe. Having a truck like that on the
you
road.
can barely drive on the road, let alone, you get to their house. And sometimes we go to somewhere that's in the country area, and they're like, oh yeah, just back up to our driveway that has a slope with snow on it.
You ain't going anywhere.
And
you're gonna spin off into the berm or the ditch in front of the house.
And then we had one person that lived like in the woods area, so it was like they had a private pathway, so the city didn't even bother going on that pathway because it's private. And we had to come back out the next day because it was like, oh yeah, well, we're gonna spend time with the snow blower trying to clear a path so you guys can make the truck, because there's no way you're gonna make it. Well, you knew you were moving. I don't know where you thought that our truck would be able to do anything different to get to your house.
Yep. And I said another thing too is we did have again, going above and beyond for the customer, right? You get some elderly customers or something like that with a long driveway, snowstorm hits, they're not going to get out there and have the ability to do that. We had a plow guy that we could basically call. It's 125 to 150, depending on how big the driveway was. But, imagine that when the customers, you're calling the customer 2 days before a storm and they're like, listen, I don't know if this happens. I don't know if I'm going to do this. I don't really want to postpone the move, blah, blah, blah. You connect them directly with your plow driver, right? Or your landscaper, or whatever the case may be. But having that going above and beyond, and we didn't make any money from that. It was just more or less, hey, you're keeping us from having to reschedule. You're also having a great impact on the customer and that overall experience, because you're adding different levels and layers to that experience that customer is never going to forget that you sent a plow truck to their house. And there was oftentimes we paid for that plow truck.
Yeah, and having a
landscaper,
that sounded like it was key. We had a glass repair guy.
Painters, landscapers, we even had contractors, in case you dented a door or, elbow went through the wall or something like that. We had people lined up for that stuff at all times. Now, we didn't have to leverage them that much, but having those resources at the tip of your finger and being able to basically bump a customer's cell phone and say, hey, you need some landscaping because you want to freshen this up? This is your guy. Boop. Let them know Ryan sent you. They got a better deal. They came in, executed their piece. I knew they did a great job. And it's just one other. It's hard to not get moving jobs when you're basically giving more to these customers. So
Yeah, no, and it makes sense. Like we had one time where the glass of a mirror frame broke, and the frame was beautiful, but the mirror broke inside of it. So it was like, geez, we can give this customer 60 cents per pound, but doesn't do it justice by no means. So we would just take that we would take that I took that mirror to a mirror repair shop. The guy said, yeah, even though it's an old school mirror, we should be able to pop the push nails out and hopefully get a new mirror in here. And it'll just cost you like $120. You know what? As a peace of mind, that'll work.
yeah,
And we got the mirror back together. We had to, like, the frame itself got pretty damaged as well, so we had to do a lot of super gluing and making sure that, that it didn't come apart. But it was sturdy enough when we went to the mirror shop for them to put a new mirror in it, and we put it in our van. And just because we didn't want, like I said, the frame to shake and get rattled or whatever the case is, we put it in our nice company van, drove it to the customer house, took it upstairs, sat it down right in the spot they wanted it, and we was like, you know what, we're not touching it no more.
yep,
And we just kind of moved on from there. And they were super excited that the mirror was back together because it was an antique mirror in their opinion.
yeah, man. It's gotta go above and beyond. You gotta set the tone, provide that crazy experience, and the new age customer wants an experience. All,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're all used to having that cool. Just look at the Amazon experience, right? How do you replicate that, but humanize it a little bit more?
Yeah, no, I remember even with Google, I heard Google at one point didn't have their people in at the office. They were like, oh, well, hey, we give you an assignment if you want to go hang out with your family and have family day and do what you want to do. They even had like a daycare center, I think, in their building or something like that. But like, yeah, if you want to hang out with your family, you're more than welcome to. But when these projects need to be done, they need to be done.
I did a move for Google down in New York City. It
Mhm.
was like not 800 watt. It was on Washington. I forget the name of the street there, but it was a massive Google building, dude. And I'll tell you, this was probably 8, 9 years ago. I walked up into their office, and it seemed like a playground for like adults. Ping pong tables. They had food all over the place. Robots driving around. Like nobody was working. They had nap pods. Nobody was working. Everybody was just chilling, hanging out, playing ping pong. And I'm like, they're like, yeah, no, our thing is like, we got work to do. We get it done. We crush it. We knock it out. And then kind of in that downtime, we're just having fun mingling. And I'm just like, what? Coming from an old school mover guy, right? Like you work, you grind it out like day after day. Like these guys are playing ping pong. And I'm like, what the? But no, they're I don't know if they still operate that way, but it was crazy to see inside the New York City Google office. It was massive.
What do you think about that type of culture?
Just sign me up. I'll play
Yeah.
ping pong all day and then go work for a couple hours, right? But no, I mean, I attribute a lot of obviously Supermove is all home, right? We all work from home, what have you. I wish we had an office. So speaking of going back to office, typically I would say no. Like I love working from home, but I prefer a hybrid situation. I like to go be around the team. But if Supermove ever did decide to, hey, we're all kind of coming into office, I'd be pumped up for that. Because the culture within our walls is awesome. They do encourage, like they encourage travel or workations as you must. Like go take that trip, but then work on your trip, but then go have fun with your family. Like go spend 3 months here and work. Like you don't have to be stuck in these four walls and do your job. Go work on your deck or work on your screen porch, sort of not work on it, like build it, but go work outside. Go work from a
Mhm.
cool place. Go work from a cafe. Like take care of your family first and then come in here and crush super moves. So definitely a totally different piece that I'm ever used to because it's just not a normal workspace.
Oh, so you got the Google experience, huh?
Minus the ping pong, man. Like I could play ping pong here, but I'm playing by myself. That's not very fun. But no, I can only imagine if we had an office, I'm sure that experience would be very, very similar to that.
Yeah.
And our people are productive as hell. So they just move super fast, man. The speed at which these guys move is crazy.
Yeah.
Makes me feel like I'm slow. And I'm all over. I'm all over. I'm usually just, but you got people that are, working at light speeds faster than me. I'm like, dang, how do they do that? They're amazing.
You know what? There was a I forget his name, but he was a Wayne Quebec off the Jets, I believe it was. And I'm not sure if I got the receiver or the quarterback, but I think it was a receiver. Uh, but basically he was not the fastest whatsoever. But he can run solid routes,
Yep.
and that got him open. And that brings me back to your case where it's like, hey, you know what? If you're efficient and you got the processes down, who cares if the next person is running circles? Because at the end of the day, you're going to get to that finish line before them because you know that straight line path versus them kind of not knowing the process and system.
I equate that to running on a treadmill versus running on the street. Right? You can run 5 miles on a treadmill, but guess what? You're in the same damn spot. And you might run that 5 miles faster than me on that treadmill, but guess what? I'm on the street running a slower mile, but I've gone 5 miles. You're still in the same spot on that treadmill. So, a lot of analogies dropping today. We should kind of do it.
But, all right, y'all. So we are at that top of the hour. I hope you got a lot of insight, a lot of analogies, and yeah.
Check your fantasy teams.
Oh yeah, I don't got no time for that. But Ryan, you keep crushing that fantasy stuff. But all right, y'all go out, keep crushing it. We are at what is it? We're midway through the third quarter, so definitely keep crushing it, and definitely plan for that winner. That winner is nearing. All right, y'all. Ryan, anything on you?
No, if you haven't planned for your winter yet, you're probably already a bit behind. Winter should be your Q4 should be planned for already. You get back to
Make sure you get your books
proactive.
in order and everything.
It's tough out there.
So definitely try Pro Mover account if you haven't got your books together. I know that they're still out there. I know they don't market too much, but
That's Brock, right?
Yeah.
He's a good dude, really good dude. I met him a few times there, but yeah, definitely. He's making some magic over there.
Oh yeah. So make sure your staff is in order. Make sure your company culture is on point too. We got a lot of notes for you guys. So all right,
Gotta have
y'all.
a good playbook. Gotta have a playbook, right? You can have a good coach, but
Definitely.
if you got a playbook, it don't matter.
So all right, y'all. Y'all definitely keep crushing it. We'll see y'all next week. All right, take care.